Let me tell you about some delicious foods that can be really good for your mouth health. Hi, I'm Dr. Ellie, and in this video, I'm going to talk about how foods impact mouth health. Who doesn't want strong bones and healthy teeth? Everybody. And which mother doesn't want that for her children? I was a dentist in England in the 1970s, and mothers would bring me their children, little children of 2, 3 years old, and their teeth were devastatedly decayed. Some of them thought that the teeth had never come in because these little brown stumps were just on the surface of the gums around their mouth. Terrible, terrible damage from what appeared to be, perhaps to some people, neglect. But it wasn't neglect. If you talk to these ladies and talk to them about how the child was eating, they were trying to do everything they could to help their children have strong bones and healthy teeth. Back in the 1970s in England, there was a drink called Ribena. It was made from black currant juice. And these mothers put Ribena in the baby bottle. Once they had been weaned from nursing, the next thing they would drink would be something that the mothers perceived would be obviously good for them. And in that baby bottle was this sugary, acidic drink, Ribena. Now in America, we see it with baby bottles full of diet soda. Same sort of thing. The mother unintentionally assumes there's no sugar in that drink. What we have to understand is to learn a little more about what's really going on. What should you put in a baby bottle? What do you do if a baby doesn't like water? And we can make a whole new video about that. But it's the unintentional consequences of following what you believe is good information. And in the case of these poor children, so much damage and so much disease so early in life that then affected their permanent teeth, the way their teeth came in, just began a disastrous journey down the oral health road. So when you eat foods, there are 3 ways they impact your oral health. Whether we're not now talking so much about baby teeth, but it is relevant because sugar turns to acid, and the acid can decay the tooth, actually makes it porous, and then more sugar feeds more bacteria that make the tooth disintegrate. Basically, that's how cavities form. If you eat carbohydrates, they actually break down in your mouth to form sugars. Before they get swallowed, they become sugar in your mouth. That's any carbohydrate, a cracker, something that maybe tastes salty, like a goldfish cracker. It's actually carbohydrate that becomes sugar in your mouth. And then there are acids directly. Things like juices or citrus directly can damage teeth. And for adults who like to drink lemon juice or cider vinegar, very healthy for your digestive tract. And don't panic here. You don't have to give these up, but you just have to know that surface-wise, as they touch your teeth, they're going to be pulling minerals out of your teeth. Now, the coolest thing for us is that our saliva, the liquid in the mouth, has everything that we need to put these minerals back again into the teeth. So the other way we can use food is to actually feed our saliva. Now that doesn't happen directly, even though our saliva is in our mouth. It is created in glands that are in our cheek and under our jaw. Those glands look, if you looked at them, look a little bit like a bird's nest. And the bird's nest is composed of very tiny blood vessels. And what happens is nutrients, minerals and cells and immune helping things that are going to help your mouth heal get transferred from that nest of blood vessels into the liquid that is then pushed down a canal and comes out in your mouth, either in your cheek or under your jawbone. And these different glands, the salivary glands, actually change the components of what's in that liquid. They have all kinds of mechanisms to tweak the liquid to be more perfect for you. Now, they did a lot of studies on these, and the liquid as your jaw goes up and down, munching up on your food, there's a thinner kind of saliva that comes into your mouth to make your food easier to swallow and easier to digest. Whereas the liquid that comes from under your jawbone is a little bit different. It's a little bit more buffering. It will help if you've ever eaten a lemon and liquid has squirted out of your mouth because it was so tangy. That is from a saliva that's being pushed out to try and buffer or protect your mouth from that strong citrus of the lemon juice. So our body knows how to deal with all of this. What we don't do is give it enough time. So we want to feed our saliva, and we can't feed it directly, but we can feed it by feeding our blood to actually have food that will digest and get picked up in our blood, come around and end up allowing that nutrient to diffuse into those channels that bring it into our mouth. And the foods that do this beautifully are the things that you'll find easy to eat for lunch. Salads, celery, beets, spinach, and you don't need a lot, you just need a little bit. And then things like mushrooms and onions and garlic are wonderful too. And within half an hour of eating these foods, you can often test your saliva and find it's gone up in pH, it's changed, and that is because it's full of these minerals. And there's a certain rhythm to our saliva flow, and it's most healing in the afternoon, which, as I mentioned, if you have a really healthy lunch, that's a great time because these minerals will then go into your saliva in the afternoon. And if you don't eat or drink anything, just leave your mouth resting with the salivary liquids that naturally come into your mouth, you will be able to heal any of the minerals that left your teeth because you had something when you were eating your meal that maybe pulled some minerals out. They will just go back in, and your gums will heal if they got in any way affected by what you ate or drank. So this constant healing mechanism occurs if we simply give our saliva time to interact with our mouth. That's the main thing to do. But of course, we would want to absorb as many minerals out of the foods we eat as we can. And one of the interesting things is that our digestive health is key. If you don't have very good digestive health, if you have leaky gut or you've had a lot of problems with your digestion, you will not be absorbing as many minerals into your blood and therefore into your saliva. And unfortunately, this occurs as we age. So it's more and more important as you age to be certain that you're eating a wide, diverse diet. It's also one of those times it's very easy to get in habits. Oh, I always eat this or I always eat that. Try to add a little something that is different, an herb, or some more salad, a different kind of salad green, maybe something that you haven't eaten very often, some beets. And you will find that that helps the diversity of your diet, helps the diversity of your gut bacteria, and that helps you to absorb more minerals from the foods you eat. It's such a shame otherwise if you're eating nutritious foods and not pulling as much from them as you could. The other study that was done some years ago was in the University of Southern California. Barry Glassner, some years ago, studied how we feel affects how we digest food. He did blood testing on groups of women from different countries. He gave women who like spicy food very bland food and found even though there was the same amount of iron in that meal, they absorbed a lot less of the iron than the women who were from the country, actually from Thailand, where that food, the spiciness, was something they enjoyed. He did a reverse study where he gave the women from Thailand a very bland food that the women from the other country liked. So he did all these experiments and found, in fact, the final part of the experiment was he gave very nutritious, gluey kind of paste to both groups and found they absorbed almost nothing out of it. It was the enjoyment of the food that somehow had an impact on their actual absorption of nutrients from the foods. Having a very restrictive diet or getting too absorbed with worry about what you're eating may actually be a hazard to absorbing good things from your diet. So having a wide diversity is important, knowing that there are certain foods that are very good for you and certain foods that actually pair. It's called food pairing. If you eat, for example, a banana with something with dairy, maybe yogurt or a custard, you will absorb more calcium from the dairy because you ate it with a banana. The fiber in the banana feeds the kind of bacteria in the gut that extract more calcium from the dairy. It's an incredible sequencing. There are lots of these food pairings, and it's very interesting, and we may do a whole video on the different foods that go together. Enough to say what you eat makes a difference. When you can absorb these minerals from your food, they will end up in your saliva, and then you allow them time by not eating, not drinking, and giving your mouth this resting period. Incredibly important for your mouth health. And the last part is if you think you don't eat particularly well and you're just going to take some supplements to make up for what you're not eating, I would caution you to that. And I don't have the studies, but I do know there are conflicting studies about supplements. And I would go as far as to say, people always ask me, Ellie, what supplements do you take? A supplement is supplemental to food. I believe the first place to start, and today it's so easy with our ability to search, if you feel and you go for testing and find out that you have a deficiency, say in vitamin D, which is really important for bones and teeth, then look into which foods could you be eating more of. Then look into food pairing so that you maybe can combine that food with vitamin D with a food that will help you to absorb the vitamin D. Then think about diversifying that meal by adding other things to it, maybe onions and garlic and herbs and spices, so that you get a much wider profile. And the chances then are that you will absorb more, not only vitamin D and calcium and so forth, because they're being eaten together, but you may find that it balances a lot of those mineral inequalities. Simply taking a calcium supplement, when I hear women telling me they're doing that, I cringe because you can get mineral imbalances by doing those things. Start always with foods. If you feel you need to supplement while you're eating that same food. And if you don't yet know what food that would be, if you're taking a vitamin C supplement and you don't know which foods have vitamin C, you shouldn't be taking that supplement, in my opinion, unless it was given to you. Because you have no business to be self-diagnosing if you don't know what food that should be in. And I always take, if I take a vitamin C, maybe in the winter because I think it's helpful, I will be always eating a high vitamin C fruit bowl with it so that you cover your bases so that this food pairing can occur. Now, the other thing I would say as far as supplements, be very cautious of people selling you probiotics for the mouth. If you haven't experimented yet with the idea of your own saliva healing your teeth, actually supporting the growth of good bacteria in your mouth, taking a probiotic is a waste of your money, in my opinion. And people do that. And the only thing in that probiotic that might be helping them is a little bit of xylitol. And xylitol helps, not because xylitol does anything particular. It does help feed the good bacteria in your mouth. But its biggest attribute, probably, is when you eat it at the end of a meal, it stimulates a little bit more flow, a little bit quicker flow of this healing saliva into your mouth. You don't need an oral probiotic, maybe as a last resort. But don't waste your money doing that. Spend your money on healthy, good food, and then when you go through these sequences of allowing time for your mouth to heal itself, if you then need a probiotic, I guess that's the time to have one.